Good morning, and welcome to all of you to HHRM monthly sharing section. Today's topic is how to make HR a profit center. So if you hear me well, I would like you to key in the number one in your chat room to make sure that you all can hear me well. Can you do that in your chat room? You key in 1. Great. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Florence, Ernest. So I know the connection is good. Yeah. My name is Foster Yu. I'm the core committee member of HRM. I'm based in Hong Kong and I run my own consulting firm. Today, I'm so honored and happy to be the host of today's wonderful and exciting sharing section. Some of you have joined HRM recently, or some of you have joined more than a few months. No matter what, we welcome you. HRM is a sharing platform for HR leaders in Asia. We share to care and we care to share. And that's why we arrange monthly sharing section every month for all of you to exchange ideas, to add value to each other. And as HR professional or HR leader, I'm sure you have, sometimes you will have issues at hand and you want to have advice, assistance, or help, or you need a listening ear. And HRM is here for you. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, to Rita, or to any members here, or in the chat room, in the platform, so that we could share to help you. So this is the introduction for this wonderful sharing platform. Once again, welcome all of you. Today we have two brilliant, excellent speakers for this topic. Mr. Vitash Agawa, he is the author of his book, Sales HR Strategy, and HRM 2 months ago held a book sharing section for his book launch. And Vitash is a good friend of HRM, and he contributes a lot. He is currently the sales capability head of Asia BU of PepsiCo. He traveled a lot in Asia, help the company to build a sales competence. Hey, Vitash, how are you?
Very good, Foster. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and another excellent speaker is Mr. George Khan. Mr. George Khan is the corporate HR manager of TES AMM, a recycling company in Asia. George is also a very good friend of HRM. He is the online certification program faculty. He speaks for us on the topic of training, how to kickstart a training plan in the company. And I'm impressed by George's language capability. He could speak lots of languages to motivate the participant in the class. I think for those online certification students here would agree with me. Hey, George, how are you?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for meeting this morning. I think everybody have your breakfast. If not, we can continue later. Thank you.
Yeah, and then of course we have our founder Rita here. Today she will be the backstage support, so you will not see her. And today we recommend you to turn off your video and audio so that we could have a better streaming quality. And we will have a Q&A section at the end of this webinar, and then you will post your question in the chat room. So all right. So today's topic: how to make HR a profit center. This is an interesting topic because the word profit center. When I study business, so I know the term call center. Call center means, according to the accounting coach on the internet, call center is a subunit of a company who is responsible for the cost. And the objective is to make sure to reduce the cost as low as possible. So this is our understanding of traditional HR as a call center. So when we discuss the topic, how to make HR a profit center, I think this is a really exciting and attractive topic to all of you. By definition, profit center is a subunit in a company that is responsible for both the resulting profit and also for the cost. That means you have to manage a profit to make sure to make sure the subunit is profitable, even though you have cost. Okay, this is the definition. So before we go into a detailed discussion, I would like to ask Ritash or George to comment on the today's topic, profit center for HR.
Great. Thanks, Foster. Firstly, thanks to Rita and Foster for inviting me here. It's a privilege to be here amongst all of you today. And this topic is not only interesting, it's very intriguing and something which the business continuously asks the HR team, that how do you convert yourself into from a cost center into a revenue center or a profit center. So very intriguing topic. I would be happy to share some of my thoughts around it. Thank you all the participants as well. I know for some of the participants joining us from India, Bangladesh, it's quite early in the morning. Thank you so much for taking out time so early in the morning. Now, Foster, how do you want me to do? Should I start my thoughts around this topic, or do you want me to pass on to George to share some of his introductory message?
Oh, George, maybe let George to say some of his words.
Sure, George, over to you.
Okay, I lead the start. Good morning, everyone. Okay, thanks for joining for this section. First of all, thanks Asia HRM for inviting me. It's my privilege to have this honor to share these sections. While waiting without further waiting, let me go through the direct sections to how to make sure you understand what is a profit center in your career life. Okay. Anyone can share this PowerPoint?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, very good. First of all, before we start the profit center, how many people of you really understand your overall nature of business? Okay, that is one thing you have to ask yourself. How many people really understand the nature business of yourself? Okay, being a HR, I think you have to understand what company or what industry you are in this market. Otherwise, it's very difficult for you to convert a cost center to a profit center. Let's look at the overall working environments that we have. Okay. Number one, what is the nature of industry? Are you come from construction? Are you come from manufacturing? Or even you come from automation or else trading, listed company, agricultural? Okay, let me give you some example. Every nature of business have a different direction and different mood of business strategy. Okay, constructions is by time frame. Every construction activity will have a complete date, start date, and complete date. You can't see a building built for forever will not completed. Then you go for travel, is by season. Okay, there's a low and high peak periods. Why by season? Because we are come from different country and different cultural. Okay, majority will prefer have their travel periods during year end. Why? Ask yourself, okay? Then we go through a manufacturing is by demand. You will not manufacture anything without any demand from the markets. That's whole thing you have to understand before we started a profit center for your company, and how you, being a HR, okay, to enroll a business strategy to convert a real profit center for your boss. From there, you can call yourself as a HR professional or HR strategy. That's the thing that I have to say before we start the profit center. Okay. Anyone can share with me if, let's say, you are not belonging to the example that I listed in the nature of your industry, then I will share with more you what is the keywords for you to identify. Then we go back in the current ever-changing business environments, change very fast. Even now, the COVID-19, we have suffering for economies in 1997. We have came across SARS. Now it's a COVID-19. End of the day, all these things have been changed us in the ever business perform, business direction, goal objective. That's end of the day, how you ever to change your business strategy into a profit center. First of all, being a HR personnel, what do you understand about your overall HR function and activity? Go back to the basic thing, don't so complicated. HR function activity, you are covering L&D, learning and development. You are covering recruitment and retention. You are covering C&B, HR operations, manpower plan strategy. These are the basic functions that we have, okay? But how much you understand, how much you call yourself as a HR strategy personnel that you are well versed in this HR activity, okay? Then you look at, understand your HR function. What are the things that you really can change and improve? Or else from this HR function, you can turn into save time, even cost, productivity, value, and reputation. These are the things that we are looking at. Okay, that is the result of a lot of things. We always think complicated, or even else do not understand what are the basics function that you have. Okay, what is the difference between you understand the HR function and you don't understand? If you call yourself is waiting for the instructions given to you, then you are not called yourself as a HR. You are administration. That is a part of the whole thing. Being a HR strategy, you always have to lead the company, okay, to understand the company goal and objective. Then you lead the team to enhance your function in recruitment and retention, okay, L&D, by finding a right personnel in on the right time, save time, then you can help the company save costs. That's the part of me I have to say. So we go back to the very basic thing. I send some example for you all to have a better understanding for this profit center. My career life, one of my career lives, I was as a regional HR in Saudi, Middle East. I'm covering the oil tanking industry in Saudi. So one of the bigger projects we have done is in Saudi Aramco. Okay, that is a very mega huge project. Okay, we're in Saudi Aramco. So during that project, I'm covering about 9,000 headcount. Okay, with a contract required to complete within 6 years. Okay? So being a main con, being awarded by Saudi Aramco, the authority, then we was tasked to take over one of the projects in Saudi Aramco. Then from there, we start to, in terms of to enroll our HR function. Okay, we recruit people from various countries, from various regions. We start the learning and developments to ensure that they're capable to run the job in terms of from a ground operation, welding, piping, then until to the top of the connections coordination work. Okay, from there, then we start to bring in how can we do in terms of C&B packages. Okay, what are things that what is the right package to given to the people? Okay, so these are the things that we have to do. Very, very simple to you, okay? Okay, so what is the best example I can share? During the contract periods whereby we have invited a lot of subcontractors to come in to tender for the job, being you are come from a local supports in terms of logistic, in terms of transportation, or in terms of construction activity that you want to involve, because one of the mega projects you need manpower, you need expert personnel, expert company for you to come in to complete the project. So the one of the key thing that you have to do is you need a people in order for you to complete the job. By looking at the contract, we understand that all the contractors have to bring in the numbers of people in order for them to complete the job. Being a welding project, within a piping project, within a tanking project, is still the same. However, in the Middle East markets, that is very unique, whereby they have a local laborer markets. They will supply a temporary workforce for big company or even a small company. So one of the story that I want to share is whereby while during the business progression, I realized that the project is fall behind more than 6 months. After go through in detail, actually this is more on project side problem. We realized that the subcontractor, they are delayed because of the insufficient of manpower to complete the task. Subsequently review the whole thing, then we realized that then we question them why you did not bring in the enough manpower as according to the contract. The very basic, they will give you a lot of reason. They give you whatever reason, okay? Then I subsequently we narrow down, we understand that they're not able to get the labor markets people to support them, because in the subcontractors markets, a lot of people are not willing to provide the temporary manpower to them because they are worried that the money will not able to return back, or some of the company even easily bankrupt. So I take the initiative to tell the local temporary labor markets, you supply to me, being a main contractor, because I have a contract in Saudi Aramco. I won't run away. So they provide the manpower to me. Every manpower they provide to me, I will charge back to the subcontractor each hour additional $1. Just imagine for a workforce of 9,000 people, okay, through a recruitment activity, I help the company to gain 1 million a month. That is my result. This is a critical example. Okay. The second example I can share with you is, have any one of you in your country or in your company, have you all started a flexi work arrangement? Anyone? The flexi work arrangements is a very unique keywords whereby majority all the company will focus on work-life and balance. Okay, we understand work-life balance is very important. That will bring in terms of personnel, in terms of company, they can gain in more, they can bring in more profits and more outputs productivity if we put our flexible arrangement to our staff. Okay, how many of you have done flexible arrangement? Okay, there are few flexible arrangement you can do. Number one, flexi time, flexi hour, flexi place. Okay, but when you implement this strategy, you have to understand this, your employee really understand and discipline. Give you an example. You know, in the whether you are from India, China, Hong Kong, or even you are in Singapore, Malaysia, you definitely have a problem to recruit the enough manpower. Okay, some of the people in the markets whereby you always can see at least 10 to 20%, these are the people are unemployed. Why? Because they are housewives. They need to take care of their family first, whereby their working hour are not able to complete the task where the standard 8 hours that's fixed by every company. That is a very live example. in the whole Asia country you have. Okay, so how can you utilize that to tap these people? Because you have to understand, every family mom, they need to take care to bring their kids to the school. What is the school timing? Or what is the returning timing? If you just avoid this timing, you can bring these people become your employee and they are accepted a lower pay. You are not required to pay them as a full pay compared to the market rates, whereby because they understand the company willing to hire you because of to change your working hour, to fix your working hour. They are willing to get, and after they understand, they're willing to contribute, and they can contribute even more productivity as a normal staff. That is the real life. Okay, that's why we call flexi hour. If you think your company require this sort of strategy, you can do it. Why? Number one, I save a lot of cost because assumably I hire the admin clerk in Asia country, 1,500 example. If I hire this working mom, I just pay them 1,000. I can save 500 from the company, which is according to the year-end budget allocated to HR, whereby the productivity compared to a mom that's even contribute more than a normal staff. Okay. The second thing you can think about, flexi place. Okay, that will apply to those people. Okay, you just imagine the COVID-19 now, we are very encouraged work from home. This is a transform from work from place, work from home. Okay, okay, flexi place is whereby you allow people to work in any place, even in a Starbucks cafe. Okay, as well they can even contribute more revenue and sales. These are the strategy that we apply for a sales people. Okay, end of the day, to us, we don't care what you do as a salespeople. I just look at your monthly return. If you are good enough, what you want to do, I leave it to you. I'm flexible on your reporting time. I'm just looking at your money. That's the whole thing that we're looking at. Okay, these are the two examples. Thanks for the gods for my past 20 years experience that have given me all these, I would say lucky or even unlucky, that this is the whole thing that I have been experienced before. How I turn a cost center to a profit center, a very simple thing. Look around you, left and right, left and right. Okay, this exercise I always like to say, look and left and right. What are the problems? Okay, if you don't understand overall function, HR function activity, what are the problems you face in your HR job? That is the key thing that you can turnkey into a profit center. Okay, if you are not clear, you still want to get more detail, please feel free, welcome to join us more on the online section. I think we are glad to share with you. Thanks. I think I'll leave it to Ritesh.
Thank you, George. Thank you very much for your insight. You are really unconventional HR. In fact, if we do not say you are HR manager, you probably like a businessman. You give us very two insightful cases. The first one is in Middle East, and you really help the company to generate an income $1 million per month. At the same time, you are helping the company to solve the problem, not just to manage the cost, to lower down the cost, to keep the cost as low as possible, but to add value. Really, the value is to make sure the project can go on, at the same time bring in extra revenue. That's wonderful. And the second case is about work-life balance. Work-life balance to give flexi hour, flexi work schedule to the staff, and then to motivate them to produce even more effectively than a traditional 9-to-5 staff. Wow, that's really insightful. And then George mentioned again and again that as a HR, we need to understand the business. We need to do that. Otherwise, we are just admin. Yeah, that is really a very important advice. And lucky does not just come to a person who is lucky, but who is well prepared. So thank you, George. Thank you, George. And now the time goes to Ritesh. we touch the time for you.
Sure. Thank you. Am I audible? Foster, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So thank you everyone for joining in. I will quickly like to introduce myself. So I am Ritesh Agarwal. I have been working with PepsiCo for the last 10 years now. I joined PepsiCo as a management trainee in 2010 from XLRI Jamshedpur, where I did my MBA in HR. My first year in PepsiCo was that of a management trainee stint, in which I learned about the nuts and bolts of the business, where I was actually told to do the role of a salesman for some time, role of a sales supervisor for some time, and the role of a sales manager for some time. So over 1 year, I got exposure to all the products and the various categories that my company sells. After that, I joined as a sales HR BP for one of the beverages unit in North India, where I took care of around 150 people as staff members and close to 800 salesmen. After this stint as a sales HR BP, I joined a plant called the Panipat Beverages plant, where I was the HR head there. The plant had a similar population, close to 150 people who were part of the management team, and around 300 to 500 contract labor who used to come. After this role as a HR head for a beverages plant, I moved as the HR head for a foods plant. This was a very big plant, one of the biggest plants of my company in this part of the world, and there were close to 1,500 people coming in every day, and it was quite challenging because of the fact that the external environment was also very difficult to manage. Then I moved as a sales capability head for India region, focusing on learning and development initiatives for the sales team. There were close to 8,000 people at that point in time in the India business. After this role as a sales capability head for India region, I moved as a sales capability manager for the AMENA sector, supporting the training and development initiatives for the sales team for 44 countries. And then last year, I moved to Bangkok as a sales capability head for Asia BU. I take care of training and development for the sales employees in 14 countries. There are close to 5,000 sales employees who are there. I also support China and Australia for some of their training initiatives. Over the last 10 years, I have moved across 8 cities and multiple countries. And like Foster had mentioned, I had summarized some of my learnings of managing the sales team, which is the revenue generating team for any company, in my book called Sales HR Strategy, which was published around 3 months back. I think I can relate to this topic very well, because what happens is, as a practicing HR, a lot of times we are seen as cost centers. A lot of times we are seen as people doing some good to do things or fixing up a few things. But this question always comes, that how can we convert us or the image of HR from a cost center to a profit center? I'll be happy to share some of my views around it, basis my experiences, and I will also like to share some of the situations where I think we did something which could be taken part as a revenue generating function. Now, first thing, how do we define profits? Microeconomics says that profit is defined as revenue minus costs. We need to sell something to get the revenue, and the costs we incur to do the business needs to be reduced. So if I want to increase the profits, either I increase the revenues or I reduce the costs. So this is what microeconomics says. Second way of realizing profits is to buy lower and sell higher. I can buy a product at a lower price and sell it at a higher price. So the difference is what we call as a profit, right? And this profit comes from the fact that we are adding certain value, right? It could be we are adding value in terms of time. It could be we are adding value in terms of information, knowledge, or we are processing something. We are converting raw material into something which is more useful for the consumer or the customer. So if we look at profits, so profits is revenue minus cost. or profits is you buy lower and sell higher, and in between you add value. And this is the framework which I'm going to use over the next 10 to 12 minutes to share my views on how can HR become a profit center. Now, I will start by talking about the revenue, which is the first part. Profit is equal to revenue minus cost. If I want to increase profits, I need to first increase revenue. There are two types of organizations as far as when we talk about HR. The very first organization are the HR consultancies, which sell HR services like compensation benchmarking. They can give you consultancy on revamping your performance management. They can give you consultancy on how to take care of your industrial relations issues. So these are the actual companies which are selling HR services. People working in these consultancies are generally from the HR or the management background, and whatever work they do is nothing but revenues for that particular consultancy firm. So this is the first example of how HR can turn itself into a profit center. First thing, you can sell the services by being a consultancy firm, sell those HR services where other organizations find value, bring in the industry expertise that you have got by working over the years, bring in the cross industry experience that you have got by working across multiple industries. And this is where the HR work of right from workforce planning till termination, you can monetize it and you can sell it as a solution to companies. So this is the first example. Now, second example, which I think most of us would be more keen, that if I am the business HR in a FMCG or a manufacturing company or a bank or a IT services company or any other company where I am actually not selling HR services to any other company, I am servicing the employees of my existing company, how do I bring in revenues? Now, my thought here is revenue is realized only when our sales team sells the products and services to the customer or consumer, and the customer or the consumer actually pays for it. There is no other way to realize revenue other than this particular process. And any supporting function, whether it is HR or finance or supply chain or safety or any other function, can never say that they can become the revenue generating function by doing the role of the sales team. In this situation, and this is the most relevant situation, functions like HR, they cannot sell the products, but they can add a lot of value by making a conducive environment in which our sales team can sell the products easily. Getting back, I spoke about consultancy firms where you can actually sell the services of HR and add value and realize your revenues. In manufacturing, FMCG, banks, IT, and all the other companies where you are the line HR or the HR business partner, you cannot sell the products and services, but you can create a conducive environment in which the sales team can function easily. Now, I would like to give some of the key points or key HR functions where you can add this value, where you can make the environment conducive for the sales team. Very first example is helping the leadership team define the right vision, mission, purpose, values, and the expected behaviors of all the employees. Now, generally what happens is whenever we talk about vision, mission, values, we say that, these are all concepts which are very high level concepts. And, this is something which even if we don't do, it doesn't work. And even if we don't do it, it's okay. But let me tell you guys, I have seen in my organization that leaders, when they join and when they do the visioning exercise with the employees, what happens is everybody gets aligned to what we want to achieve. And in my organization, and I'm sure in many other organizations, we have a very detailed and very gala sharing of our yearly goals. We call all the team together and we do 2 to 3 days kind of a workshop or a session where we take the team through the entire plans for the year. What will be our sales plan? What will be our marketing plan? What will be our functional plans? And we ensure that everybody in the organization knows what we want to achieve. Now, this is like, rowing a boat. We cannot have employees in the company who are rowing the boat in the way they want to do it. if we are sitting in the boat and if we are 100 people, we need to row the boat together. Only then the energy gets synthesized into proper actions and the organization moves forward. So the very first value adding activity which any HR can do in any organization is, please have the vision, mission, values and goal setting exercise properly. If you do this one step, you are communicating to everyone what you want to achieve. Now, this should not only be restricted to the vision exercise, it should actually transform into what are the expected behaviors from each employee, right? Something which is a broad level concept needs to be broken down into small things which people can relate to, right? Just to give you an example, there are organizations which want to serve the customers faster, right? There are many organizations, very famous e-commerce companies, who say that customer is the priority. So if we want to be a successful business, we need to ensure that our customer is taken care of. So this is the first thing. Second most important thing is the workforce planning. Now, what happens is HR is responsible for bringing in the right people for the organization. As far as workforce planning is concerned, especially in sales driven organization, it's important to have the right resources to help you achieve the goals you want. I'll give you a very basic example. I mean, every year as a sales team, we want to increase sales, right? What we generally do is we find out white areas and we want to place our products in those white areas. Now, as part of workforce planning, HR can decide the right number of people whom we can hire over a period of time to ensure that those white areas are served and we reach out to more audience. So this is the very first thing. Second thing is HR needs to hire proactively and hire the right people. There are numerous examples in my life I have seen where this one correction of hiring proactively and hiring the right person can result into right revenues. I'll just give you an example. A lot of time in sales, we hire only when someone attrites. We had changed this entire game in which we said that we will not wait for the people to attrite. What we will do is we will do something called an early warning system, in which the HR is going to go to the person in his territory, work with him, understand what is his life situation is, what are the problems he's facing. And then whatever problems he's facing, we need to come out with proactive solutions. In the early warning system, we used to rank every employee into what is the risk of attrition. Just to give you an example, if one person is in one city, whereas his parents are in some other city miles away, and his parents are not keeping well, now there is a good probability that if we don't give him the transfer, he's going to find another job in the city where his parents are, and he's going to attrite. Now, these are the cases which had become the red cases for us. We knew that the employee is having certain problem. We cannot resolve his problem right away, and hence he is in our red list. So like this, we identified a lot of positions where there could be a chance of attrition. And what we did was we hired proactively in terms of hiring sales trainees. So we hired sales trainees as freshers and people of small experience, and we trained them for 3 months, 6 months. And if at all there was an actual case of attrition in that territory, we had the person ready at the back end in form of a sales trainee to take up that role. So our territory is never remain vacant. And that is where we added a lot of value. Any sales territory, if it remains vacant, there is a loss of sales. All of us know that. We are not able to serve our customer right. We are not able to serve our partners right. And this is where, we added a lot of value in terms of proactive hiring. Another important point where the revenues can be impacted is having the right work environment. A lot of times it is said that people don't leave companies, they leave their managers. In my book, Sales HR Strategy, I have also said that when people stay, they also stay because of their managers. So as an HR, it is our responsibility to ensure that we train our managers for managing their team properly so that we have the right working environment. Let me be honest in saying that as an HR, we face a lot of heat from some of our managers, some of our leaders. And it is our duty to coach and bring in the right manager quality to the team. Next point where revenues can be impacted are the capability development of the team. right? Whenever a new person joins the organization, it is important to tell him about his work and train him on how he can do his work properly. uh, I take care of sales capability, and this is one of the most important thing that we do here. We have a lot of value which gets added. Just to give you an example, new outlet opening remains a very important feature for all our salesmen. So we design and we train all our sales team on this particular training called new outlet opening. How do they open new outlets to increase the distribution and to realize more revenues? Next important thing is the incentive or the compensation design. I have seen many units where the compensation was not very competitive. So we used to hire a sales guy. He used to work with us for 6 months to 1 year, and then he used to attrite because the compensation outside was much more lucrative. So correcting the compensation strategies is something which we can do very easily, and this is something which can be a huge value add. Similarly, incentives. Now, incentives should not be based on basic behavior like reporting on the job on time. Incentives should always be linked to revenues and how do we realize the revenues, as well as how to motivate the team to achieve those revenues better. All this, we need to ensure that as an HR, we have KPIs which are measuring all this. Like we should have KPIs like revenue per employee. We should have KPIs like profits per employee. I will quickly move on to the next part of my session, which is about controlling costs. Now, this is a very simple thing. All the practicing HR knows that how they can control costs. It could be workforce planning, wherein we are not only looking about adding more people, we are saying that how can we deliver more through the existing people. Similarly, deciding what kind of employee and how we want to hire them, whether it's a permanent employee, whether it's a contractual employee, whether it's a contract labor, or in this era, there is something called gig working, where we say that we will not hire a person, we will hire only the services for a short period of time till those services are met. Another important thing from a plant perspective and even from a sales perspective in terms of controlling cost is managing absenteeism. Absenteeism is one big factor which results into loss of the time and loss of both productivity as well as the revenue generation. So HR through various means can take care of absenteeism or provide cover for those absenteeism. Other important things are hiring through portals, hiring through referrals versus hiring through consultants. Rather than going and hiring through consultant, a big cost saving measure could be hiring through referrals. Other big cost lines like salary costs, admin costs, initiatives, the big initiatives, the big engagement plans that we have, we can control costs there by being innovative. And the last one is about managing attrition proactively. Attrition is one single cost that can impact the organization, not only in terms of its realization of revenues, but also in terms of its culture. High attrition can lead into a vicious circle of having a bad environment, and it's a cycle which we can avoid. So these are some of the thoughts from my side. Like I said, there are two ways to impact profits. You increase your revenue or you reduce your cost. Impacting profits can also be buying lower and selling higher by adding value. And I have given some examples on how to look at revenues, how HR can create a right environment by controlling costs and impact the profit. Thank you so much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Vitaj. Thank you for your very systematic and detailed explanation of the profit and cost center. I can feel that you summarize your experience in your big company and how to help the company to enhance the profit at the same time to lower the cost through various ways, including aligning the VMV, developing the competence to sell extra, and also talk about how to two important things is the attrition and also the activism, so to minimize the impact and to the company operation. And in fact, those are really the big cost to the company. I'm sure everyone here agree. And yeah, so now we have around 10 minutes. And I already noticed that there are some questions from the floor. So before we move on to Q&A section, see George and Vitaj, do you have something to add? Otherwise, I will open the floor to the audience, and you are welcome to key in the question, and I shall I shall be the one to pick the question to the speaker. And yeah, George, do you have any final comments before we go to the Q&A?
No.
Okay, great. So first of all, I thank you all the question from the floor. And the first one is, what is the best way to show to the management that HR is a profit center? Should we show them the figures? Yeah. So maybe I ask George, you give comment on that. The best way to show to the management that HR is a profit center, shall we show them figures?
Okay, thanks for the questions. I think when the participant have asked this question is about, number one, you have to tell your company what are the methods that what is the best method to explain to your merchant the profit center. Number one, you must really understand how to do a costing proposal. Number one, this is very important. From the costing proposal, do you understand how to do the comparison chart? Okay, that is very crucial. Okay, there are a lot of methods for you to do the application. Okay, its only thing is, have you tried before? Okay, number one, you can use some of the tips I'm sharing with you. Speak sample contrast. Okay, use a speak sample or control group instead of applying a program or to entire team or division. Apply it only half to demonstrate the related impact of the program that you want to apply. Okay, this is we call split sample contrast. The second method, we are very simple, is before and after contrast. You let people understand before and after. Even you do a promotion sales, you do advertisement, invest a lot of money. You need to know what is your value and return of investment for this promotion you have organized before and after. Okay. The third one is demonstrate a correlations. So a direct correlations between the increased usage of the tools by a manager or employee and increase in productivity, revenue, or profits. Okay. The last one is result after implementation. So these are the 4 things that you can use as a generative to proving that the impacts as a part of profit center. End of the day, I think very simple question. Number one, you must very strong and eager to tell your boss you are a very capable HR strategy, not administrations to the people. Okay, especially for the current COVID-19. Okay. End of the day, I think is don't always think that the boss will make the decision. Yes, they will make the decisions, but you can give them some advice through your proposal. I'm going to share another very unique example. I think we go to the hot topic is how many company can survive, how many company can turn profit center during COVID-19. Okay, this is a hot topic. A lot of people will ask. End of the day, I think you look at the surrounding the markets, travel heavily impact. Majority of the travel industry have closed down, bankrupt. Service line, food change, even entertainment have been closed down. Okay, I give you a real life example what we do, but don't notify the Singapore authority to look after my company because otherwise I have a problem to declare the tax. Okay. Okay. One example, my company is during COVID-19. Okay. Have you understand the local government's policy? A good example in Singapore, they have released a lot of grant. Okay. That grant can lead to a profit to your company. Okay. Because when any economy crisis, every local authority, they will force all the company to hire local people. Okay, in order for them to ask you to hire local people, they have to, in exchange, to give you some sweet. That is the grant. Okay, so that is one thing you can do. Look at another example. Singapore SIA, a very well reputed airline company. There's totally no business during the COVID-19. They redeploy their people to other industry, whereby they still can keep their people in their underemployment contract. They still can help the people find a job. On the meantime, have an income, while it will not impact to their company money. Some of the people, like air stewardess, they have deployed to be the hospital as an ambassador. They have been deployed to the certain place to based on the capability. Some of them very good in as a public relations. So you can use this as a part of a redeploy. A lot of people have not think about this. Redeploy your existing manpower, whereby your business is impact. You are not required so many manpower in your current stage. You redeploy to your people to other industry or other company that will require more. Okay? Otherwise, you just continue to retrain them, force them to take leave. This is always, we say, last resort. Nobody will use this method unless no choice already. We call this is last resort. If you can do this thing, I think the employee understand why they have to redeploy them to other places. On the meantime, help them because company take an effort. This is part of the deployment under the recruitment strategy. Have you all done this? Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Thank you, George. And Vitach?
Oh, great. So I will just pick on the same question. Couple of things. When you are, HR has always said that we should try to convert all the initiatives into measures. So we should definitely try to bring in more numbers of whatever initiatives that we are doing. I in this particular thing, I already mentioned that the fact that we have we spend a lot of time doing a lot of work, but hardly we spend time converting it into numbers and showcasing it. So yes, whatever work you are doing, try to do it. Now, a couple of things which you can do. One, try to bring in the number of hours you are spending servicing each department. So if you are working for sales, try to just count the number of hours and share it with the team, right? As an advanced thing, you can also share the impact on costs in terms of how many number of hours you or your team is giving. That's another way of putting things into the numbers. And like George said, do a pre and post intervention analysis and share the impact or share the value that you have added to the team. One additional question, Foster, in this I can see the question is, during this COVID time, how do we kind of mention these strategies? How can we implement them, especially when the revenues have fallen, right? Guys, see, one thing, this particular incident which has happened is totally an unprecedented situation. I have written about handling unprecedented situations in my book, where I am saying that, see, we need to be more proactive in whatever we do, right? When we talk about such situations where revenues get impacted massively, first thing which you should do is go back to your employees and do a brainstorming session on what else we can do to realize our revenues, either in the same domain or what new things can we do to realize our revenues. This is a situation where the entire supply chain has been impacted, and it's important to listen to the employees. It's important to try new ideas. So that's the first thing which you can do. Second thing, in this situation, don't cite rules and regulations. This is an unprecedented situation. Whatever we need to do, we need to do. In this, don't cite that we have a rule of not doing this. Yes, of course, we cannot do anything which is illegal or which is not compliant. Within the framework of legality, we need to ensure that we bring in innovation, we bring in new things, what we do. And I'm sure with time, I'll give you an example of Thailand, where over the last 2 months, everything has come back to normal. This is what will happen sooner or later for other countries as well. We are going to come back to normal. Let's use this time to take it as a learning experience and be more proactive in future.
Thank you, Mr. Vitach. So to audience and here, I have a little announcement. So we will organize a watch party for those who could not watch this wonderful webinar through Facebook. So but the date and time to be advised. And then because I see we have still a few questions, so we will extend this session maybe 10 minutes more, and so that George and Vitash could answer them and give them advice. First, I see a question that from Shanghai. So people will resign or stay with the company due to their manager, and the HR job is to train the manager. Okay. Sarah's question is, what strategy or tool that an HR should use to convince or train the manager? So may I ask Vitash to give some advice on that?
Sure. See, guys, attrition management is something which is very close to my heart. In fact, my first stint in the company, I faced attrition of 40%. So every 2.5 years, I had a new team to manage. And over a period of time, I brought this 40% to 17%, right? This is a very important thing. Like I already mentioned before, people leave organizations because of their manager. They also stay in the organization because of their managers. Now, what happens is managers can't be stubborn in terms of saying they don't want to learn what are the good practices for the team, right? Very first thing which you should do is you should share why people are leaving and what are the exact situations which resulted into people leaving. I am aware that especially in sales situation, when you are away from your headquarters, when there is very little vigilance, if managers are not trained properly, they end to treat the team in the way they want to train. And there are many examples in YouTube where we see that a lot of people left the company because of the way the manager handled them. So first thing which we should do is tell the managers why people are leaving, what are the behaviors which are not right, right? And we need to make them more open to learning the best practices in which the team can be managed. Everybody wants to learn. I want to become a better manager. I want the team to have regard for me. And I cannot say, no, I don't want to learn anything which will help me create my image and help me create my regard within the team. So provide interventions, provide a structured interventions of training the manager on best practices of handling the team. Provide incentives in terms of rewards and recognition to the managers where the attrition is very less. Give them better performance ratings. And as such, people who are having lesser attrition in their team generally tend to perform well, right? So these are some of the thoughts that I am having. Another important thing, like I said, it's very important to define the right behaviors for your organization. Ensure that you have the right behaviors demonstrated by the managers. And if the behaviors are not right, ensure that you have a mechanism to address that particular situation well.
Yeah, thank you. And then Vitash, I saw Mr. Hasnai it was also the HR in PepsiCo Bangladesh. I think your advice also addressed to his question. So George, may I seek your insight on how to convince or train the manager?
Okay, I think when I look at this question, very unique. Is it the problem for the manager or the problem for the employee? This is the first question we have to understand first. Okay, some could be due to the manager. There's human behavior. When a person stay longer to the company, become, we call in Chinese say snake. Okay, big snake already. So become how to say. That could be lead to the bad behavior of the person's stay. That could be due to this person is one of the family member of the boss. That could be due to this person have a high achievement in terms of the whole company have to rely on him or her. So we have to understand the question come from behind. Is it the problem of a manager or employee? That's one thing. Okay, like what I sharing with you all how to kickstart training in my last section. Understand everyone have a weakness and strength. Okay, understand this direction. Okay, it's not difficult. Even myself have a weakness. Okay, even Foster has a weakness. Okay, everyone have a weakness. Understand the weakness, penetrate it. Okay, what is the most important to convince that you gain support from your boss in order for you to handle your manager? Number one, your boss want ROI. Your boss want money. if you can convince that certain method you apply that can bring a big impact to for the revenue or the cost resulted on the after the trainings, then I think the boss willing to listen to you. Then you become the blue eye boys of your boss. Then in order for you to handle the manager. If let's say the problem is right on the employee, then you have to look at, I believe Shah, you are come from a very traditional company. It's very similar one of the case I'm faced before. I would rather say, correct me if I'm wrong, your current recruitment process is handled by a department's manager, not by HR. That's resulted because HR are not involved in the filtering process. Once you have done a proper filtering process involved in the recruitments, then your attrition rate will be much more lower, because these are the traditional company when they bring in people without a proper interview section, a process filtering. So a person come in today, tomorrow will leave because number one, you have not done a proper filter process. Some of the people don't even understand what is the nature of the job. Okay, so that's the whole thing. It's very simple. Okay, so tackle the manager. I give you the methods already. Understand what is the weakness. Employee, involve more on your HR strategy in terms of recruitment process, filtering, identify before pass the people to the hiring manager. Then your attrition rate will be much more lower. I'm glad with every company I go in my career for the past 20 years. I like to enjoy the company that where I go have a lot of problem. Otherwise, the boss will don't treat me value. Okay, that is the reason I choose to go for my different industrial. I don't choose the same industrial when I look for a job. I'm looking for a company that can show my value. What is the bigger problem you face? You need a HR for me. Then top is on my hand. I can ask more higher salary. I can ask more power. That's the reason. You get what I mean? So you have to show the value that you can do, whereby other people cannot do. Because end of the day like this, you have to understand the boss will always think they are the smarter people in the company. That's why you become the boss. But you can tell the boss, you are the smarter, yes, but I'm the professional in HR. I can help you to move your business double by applying the right HR strategy in terms of become profit center, in terms of cost. That is the whole reason. You just imagine what I share a two example with you. When I go to a Saudi country, I start a nobody. When I come in, everyone look at me. This young boy, what can you do? How can you do? There are people experienced for more than 30 as a project director, project manager. But I'm proven to them, I can gain $1 million for your company. By the time we click $1 million profits for the company, you know the board director come to Saudi to meet me. That's the whole thing. You get it? So when you get, then they see you rub shoulder with the director, the board director, then they'll start to listen to you. So that's the whole thing. You have to find a place or a solution or a strategy that to gain your status in your company. Otherwise, purely everything is theory. No use. No matter how many books you read, okay, how many lessons you attended, you don't understand the theory concept that you need to apply. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you have. And I noticed that this is the concluding question from the four. I noticed that some of them talk about COVID-19. COVID-19 is still not finished yet. And then although we see the light at the end of tunnel, but we are still in the tunnel. So the question in my sense is that how to convince the boss what to do. And of course, because the revenue for the company now is dropping a lot, a very sharp decline. And then I think they want to know from the very practical point of view from George and Vitaj, how to talk to boss, how to integrate the content that you mentioned in the last 1 hour, and then convince the boss, give you the power, the resources or maybe we don't have resources, give you the support to do what you want to do.
Ritesh, you first.
Sure. See, guys, in this COVID-19, we need to make people realize that we are in this boat together, right? So whether it's either the company or the society where we live in, we are all in it together. So we need to, of course, find ways to reach out to our manager and tell them what can be done. Now, the mistake that we generally do is we make assumptions about what could be the solution to the problem. I am saying when we are approaching someone, let's not make assumptions about what we think can be the right thing. I'm saying reach out to our team, listen to them, do a brainstorming session, understand what could be the solutions to tackle this problem, both in terms of revenues and costs. Employees in this situation in many companies are as such very scared that their jobs might go away, right? Find out ways in which you think you can provide solace to them, hear them out, understand their concerns and understand their ideas. Now, once you do this kind of research on the ground, and then when you go and approach someone, you will have something very meaty and something very important to talk about. At that point in time, any leader understands that feedback from the ground is very important. Listening and understanding how employees are feeling is very important. Someday or the other, and like I told, like we have examples like Thailand and Vietnam, where for last 2 months, we have been able to turn around the business, and business is now seeing a growth. Someday or the other, this COVID will go away and we will be back on track. We'll be back on our legs. We don't want a situation where we don't hear our employees, we don't take the right measures. And when the right time comes of actually delivering the performance, people are not motivated enough. So guys, I'm saying this is the right time to prepare a lot, both by listening on the ground as well as sharing what can be done with your manager. And a prudent manager will understand that he alone cannot fight this situation. He needs to include HR to provide solutions. I mean, you would have seen how over a period of months, many organizations transformed from working from the office to working from the home. And there are examples where companies have provided new laptops or new desktops, even chairs and tables at the homes of the employees. All this work could not have been done if HR was not working with the business leader to provide real-time solutions, right? So these are some of my thoughts. Over to George.
Hey, Ritesh, sorry, because I noticed Anthony Wong throw a question to Ritesh is about for the CFO. He said some CFO are really abundant and saying ROI impact. Everything he will talk about ROI or ROI. So he asked, would ROI be a valid measure of values?
See, there is a famous joke which goes around in the internet that the CFO asks the CEO, what if we train our employees and they leave? And then the CEO responds by saying, what if we don't train our employees and they stay? Right? So CFOs are always fond of numbers, and yes, they are also our big customers, because any new activity we want financing from them. So we need to work together with them and understand what are their expectations and what are the ways in which they want our function to get measured. Now, some of the things. Now, first thing, yes, ROI is something which people want every time, but ROI is not always the right measure. Right? I will tell you the problem with ROI, and especially with training measurement. Like I have implemented the Kirkpatrick training evaluation model in my work in one of the markets in the past. It requires massive resources and time by the frontline team to answer for all the 4 levels in Kirkpatrick's. So coming to the ROI, which is the last 4th or the 5th part in Jack Phillips' model, is very difficult. It requires a lot of resources and time. So we need to give them a time benefit, or rather the analysis of how investing time into finding ROI will result into addition of things. A lot of times, it's not the ROI. It is actually the impact that we see on the ground and the feedback that we get from the employees matter more than the actual numbers. But yes, there has to be a way in which we need to convince our CFOs. Maybe there could be a right thing to organize a session with them and understand how they think we should calculate the ROI. Let's understand from them. Sometimes when you do this brainstorming session with them and make them a part of the solutioning exercise, they also understand the hurdles and barriers we face. Everything said and done, guys, numbers can speak something, right? But then the perception about the numbers also hold a key important thing. And this is what differentiates us from any other managers, right? The COVID numbers every day say something, but then the fear in our minds, the fear not to go out says a lot more than what the numbers say, right? So these are some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Touch. And then George.
Yep. Okay. I think I would rather say that first of all, some of the top management or even the boss they are visual learner. So it's very tough for you to present on certain metrics, mechanism, or even the data to the boss. Okay. I think you must be well prepared is what are the item or what are the things that's really interested by the boss. When I met my boss, I only have 1 minute. Even I have a 10 PowerPoint slide. But the boss have the same question. ROI, cost, time. These are the things that I just go to the point. Okay, end of the day is up to you. Okay, I will say use the simple tools that everybody understand. Okay, I think Anthony, I can share with you some of the training costs that you spend money. I would say like this. This is what I shared during my last session. I didn't Foster around. You can do a free training service even during COVID-19. Why? Because everyone only wait for the department send you the training request, then you do. This is administration's role. Okay. I do not know other country, but I give you a very real life example. In Singapore, there are many volunteers to be a free trainer for everyone during COVID-19. Okay, even myself have volunteer. I know HHM during this COVID-19, they have this opportunity to get contact with me. So I give a volunteer training to everyone. That is a part of the whole thing. The second thing is you don't need to spend a lot of money or not even money. You need a certain training. Look around left and right. Okay? You have a certain friend are good in this skill. You just need a training. Unless you tell me you totally don't have a friend, then something wrong is with you. The network as a HR used to have many friends come from various industry. Everyone have a special skill. Like Ritesh have very good in sales strategy. If I have a good friend as Ritesh, then I will say, Ritesh, can you do me as a good friend of mine? Can you conduct a sales training for my staff with zero money? I think that is reasonable. You get what I mean? So don't always think that training, you need to spend money. I give you another scenario. Through L&D, I become profit center. Is there any example in here, the participant, your boss owning your company, whereby he have other company with different name? Is there any one of you? This is a real example. Huh? So I work one of the project I work for a boss. He owned this company we call ABC. He holding 100% of this ABC company, but he had many company, example XYZ, but purely only 20%, 30%. The other is for others shareholders. So that is totally no related with me, correct? So the boss understand after I put the value to the ABC company, they want me to train them also. I say, yes, I'm willing to train, but I will charge them because they don't pay me salary. This is go back to the simple thing that we do, share service concept. Share service concept is whereby all the branches have the related to you. You get what I mean? So don't take it very complicated when you do the share service, charging back the L&D cost must be come from MNC company. There are many boss, they have other income or other company in outside whereby they are not full 100% shareholder. So this is one thing I can share with you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Although I see some of the participants log in the webinars in the past 10 minutes, they are still rushing in to listen to you too. But I have to say that we need to end here. But at the end, I appreciate the question from the floor. So Vitaj and George could give very practical suggestion to how to turn HR from call center to profit center. It's really amazing. I hope you guys learn as much as I do. I really learn a lot. And as we said at the beginning, Asia HRM is a sharing platform. We care to share and we share to care. So if you have any concern, question, issues in HR, talk to us. And once again, thank you for your attention. Thank you for coming to this webinar. Thank you, George. Thank you, Vitaj. And see until next time, we will see you. Goodbye now. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you, George. Thank you, Rita and Foster.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.